normocytic. If I check MCV, there's an image, I check the MCV and MCV is normal, 80 to 100. There are three possible mechanisms here for normocytic anemia. So the first one, and before I even talk about those three mechanisms, I can further divide those mechanisms using reticulocyte count. Yes. So reticulocyte is important in normocytic. So I can check reticulocyte. And because reticulocyte tells me about bone marrow function. That's what it tells me. Reticulocyte tells me about bone marrow function. So if I see normocytic anemia, I check reticulocyte, and reticulocyte is normal or decreased, then definitely we're dealing with what? Production issue, right? Something is wrong with red blood cell production. Yeah. Which brings us to the question, what do we need to make red blood cells to produce reticulocytes and eventually produce mature red blood cells? We need bone marrow, right? Intact bone marrow space, right? We need hormone, erythropoietin, and we need the stem cells. So basically, yeah, to make red blood cells, we need these three things, at least. These three things. Bone marrow space, stem cells, erythropoietin. I'll probably also put iron here because remember ACD, right? Although iron deficiency doesn't directly affect, well, might affect production chronically, but yeah, I definitely need iron as well, sort of, to make hemoglobin and make a red blood cell because ACD can also affect and present with normocytic anemia, right, through this mechanism. But what we need majorly would definitely be what will be the an intact bone marrow space, which houses the stem cells, and they need stimulation, right? They need food in the form of EPO, in the form of iron, right? Yeah, to stimulate them to trigger, right, erythropoiesis and trigger hemoglobin synthesis and all that. So these are going to be what I'm going to be thinking about, right? Something is likely wrong. If somebody has reticulocytopenic normocytic anemia, something is likely wrong somewhere, right, along this four categories. Yeah. But if a patient has normocytic anemia and reticulocyte is elevated, it's increased, which means the bone marrow is appropriately responding. Bone marrow is fine. This is not a production issue that I'm dealing with. Then it means the patient is losing red blood cells someplace, right, outside the bone marrow. It's not a production issue. Patient is losing red blood cells in the periphery. And that brings us to three things. Either I'm dealing with what? Hemolysis, peripheral destruction of red blood cell, or you're dealing with what? You're dealing with hemolysis, or we're dealing with hemorrhage, acute blood loss. Yes. Okay. So, Baines anemic, MCV is normal. All right. I mean, we have about three things will be on your mind, about three possible mechanisms, which will be either there's something wrong with red blood cell production, or there's peripheral loss of red blood cells, which can be due through hemolysis or through hemorrhage, acute blood loss, bleeding. Three things. I can further narrow down the mechanism into one of those three, or at least two of those three, by looking at the reticulocyte count if you're given the reticulocyte. Yeah. So if I see reticulocytosis, then I'm dealing with either hemolysis or hemorrhage. If I see reticulocytopenia, reticulocyte count is actually normal, right? Not elevated, then I'm dealing with likely something production related, EC related, which I'm going to be thinking bone marrow space. So the house, the tenants, and the food. bone marrow space, the house. The tenants are going to be the hematopoietic stem cells in the bone marrow. And then what stimulates them or what they eat, right? Erythropoietin, iron, and gold, right? So that is going to be our approach. Hemorrhage is easy, right? To kind of figure out because if the patient is acutely bleeding, you're going to see that. Yeah, they're just going to a motor vehicle accident, the vitals are going to be abnormal for sure. So I can quickly look at if I suspect if I reticulocytosis, anemia, I'm thinking of course vitals will be abnormal, things like that. So you can probably easily figure this one out, right? By just looking at their vital signs and that'll quickly tell you, right, what is going on with the patient. So that is good from the history and whatnot. Hemolysis, we can, for that, of course, there are a lot of causes of hemolytic anemia, so we need to, further classify it more. So I see reticulocytosis, I've ruled out hemorrhage. I'm left with hemolysis, right? I need to figure out, so I can really divide hemolysis based on the location where the hemolysis is taking place, like really. And I want to tell you that this classification is not all, black and white, actually, because there are a lot of conditions that actually cause they can cause hemolysis of red blood cell anywhere in this plane in the vessels, right? Anywhere, doesn't matter. But there are conditions that are primarily maybe in the spleen. Primarily doesn't happen as the spleen. It just means maybe 90% or more of the hemolysis takes place in the spleen. So we call those like mostly intravascular, right? Sorry, extravascular hemolysis based on location now. Extravascular hemolysis, that would be spleen. Outside the vessels, in the spleen, although the spleen is like a giant blood vessel anyway. But then we have hemolysis that primarily takes place in the vessels, intravascular hemolysis, in the vessels, or outside the spleen. Yeah. So you can further divide that. What clues can I see in the bed? So I've worked my way down to hemolysis. I want to, further narrow down my differentials based on location of hemolysis. What clues will you see to determine if it's extravascular or we're dealing with intravascular hemolysis? You can definitely look for the physical exam, right? See if there's splenomegaly, which goes without saying. If hemolysis takes place in the spleen, there will be splenomegaly, right? Yep. There's going to be splenomegaly. Hemolysis takes place in the spleen, there's going to be splenomegaly. Yeah. If hemolysis takes place in the spleen as well, this you're more likely to see the indirect hyperbilirubinemia, indirect bilirubin being elevated, which can actually be elevated in both of them. Yeah. But there is splenomegaly, gonna say jaundice, right? For sure. In intravascular hemolysis, I'm more likely to see, this is where I'm gonna see elevated LDH because the red blood cells are being destroyed in the vessels. And as they're being destroyed in the vessels, they're releasing, right? They're releasing their intracellular content, like LDH, into the blood. They're releasing hemoglobin into the blood. So you're going to see the plasma looks red. Not just the blood now, the plasma itself will look red instead of white, because plasma is mostly water. But in intravascular, the plasma can look pinkish or reddish because now there's hemoglobin in the plasma because red blood cells are releasing intracellular content, right? So there will be increased hemoglobinemia, right? And more likely because you won't see hemoglobinemia in extravascular because the splenic macrophages are the ones destroying red blood cell in the spleen. So they destroy them by eating them up. They phagocytose and digest red blood cells within their lysosome, right? So they're not going to be releasing hemoglobin to the blood. I won't see hemoglobinemia in that case. In this case, I'm also going to see, I will see increased hemoglobinuria, not just anemia, right? Some of the hemoglobin will appear in the urine. The urine looks pinkish or reddish, and but you won't see red blood cells as much in the. You're going to see red blood cells as well in the urine. It's going to be and it's going to be pinkish because of hemoglobinuria, and this can actually cause AKI, right? This is not good. And then there's a molecule called aptoglobin. So aptoglobin binds to free hemoglobin, right, in the blood. So the free aptoglobin levels will be low. Free aptoglobin, because aptoglobin will be forming a complex with hemoglobin. So the free levels of aptoglobin will be low, right? If I see all this pattern, I'm likely, and they can also have jaundice as well. Yes. Increased indirect bilirubin or conjugated bilirubin. So, but what is most specific for intravascular for sure? Low aptoglobin, I'm seeing free hemoglobin in the blood, in the urine, LDH is high, is likely primarily intravascular hemolysis. Extravascular won't have those, but it's going to have megaly, there will be indirect hyperbilirubinemia, right? For sure, extravascular. And if bilirubin is high, especially in extravascular where bilirubin will be very, very high, indirect will be very, very high in the blood, all those indirect bilirubin, they end up in bile, and there's going to be increased risk of what? Increased risk of calcium bilirubinate stone with extravascular, right? Which is so gallstones, right? Black pigmented stones because of high bilirubin in bile. Yeah. All right. So just things to just look for, right? To kind of figure out location. So which conditions are primary? What causes of hemolytic anemia are primarily extravascular? Definitely, I'm dealing with sickle cell disease, sickle cell anemia. I'm dealing with hereditary spherocytosis. I'm dealing with sickle cell disease, hereditary spherocytosis, and I have IgG, autoimmune, right? Hemolytic anemia. Yeah, the warm agglutinin. Yeah, these are primary extravascular hemolysis. The others are usually intravascular. But like I said, even among the ones that are intravascular, there's always an overlap, right? They're mixed, intra, extra, things like that. So under the others, we can have like D6PD deficiency, right? Malaria, plasmodium infection, right? Malaria parasite, babesia, babesiosis, PNH, proximal nocturnal hemoglobinuria, um, microangiopathic hemolytic anemias, which include DIC, right? TTP, HUS, and like severe preeclampsia, like ELP syndrome. Yeah. There's even macro. So micro, and then we also have macro angiopathic, which will include like severe aortic stenosis, right? Aortic stenosis as well, or patient that just underwent catheterization. So all those can cause like mechanical destruction, basically, of red blood cells, right? Either within small blood vessels, capillaries, or within large blood vessels. Yeah, so those we should know. So this is PD, plasmodium babesiosis, PNH, MAR. I'm sure there are others that I can now, maybe pyruvate kinase deficiency as well. Yeah, and some other ones. Yeah, but these are going to be basically your approach right to hemolysis. So patient is anemic, normocytic, right? But his blood size is high. Okay, and I'm able to rule out like hemorrhage with hemolysis. So I have, right, I can further classify based on location. Like I said, this is not black and white primarily. There's an overlap in each of them where most of them are actually mixed. but the key is most of them occur primarily in one location than the other. So there's primarily intravascular intravascular hemolysis in the ones extravascular hemolysis primarily for sickle cell disease, erythrocytosis, IgG, autoimmune. They're primarily extravascular. But then things on the right, they are mostly primarily intravascular. However, some of them are actually mixed. Like G6PD is both. It's both intra and extravascular. Babesia is also both. Even Plasmodium, both. PNH, I think, is primarily intravascular for sure. MAHA, yeah, definitely primarily intravascular. PK deficiency, primarily. Then we have IgG, we have IgA, autoimmune hemolysis, IgM rather, IG, autoimmune hemolytic anemia, right, which will be the cold, right, agglutinin, yeah. So which is also primarily intravascular as well, yeah. So there's going to be some examples. All right. Before we go into those details and just talking about the them apart and some things you want to know about them, let's talk about reticulocytopenia, hemolytic anemia. So in this group, of course, category, I can already start thinking of predicting what will be my differentials. Definitely ACD can cause both normocytic and microcytic anemia by affecting red blood cell production, can cause normocytic as well. Of course, things that destroy the bone marrow space. Yeah, things that destroy the bone marrow space. If the cause of reticulocytopenia is due to space destruction, bone marrow destruction. So the stem cells are fine. They still have food. Erythropoietin etc. is okay. But the space, there's no house. It's the house that is destroyed. So the stem cells can relocate, right? Same thing, God forbid, hurricane destroys buildings. I mean, if the people, the tenants in the buildings or the owners of the buildings or inhabitants are alive, they can relocate right to another place. Same thing here. Bone marrow gets destroyed, stem cells can relocate, right? So if the mechanism of reticulocytopenia is space, bone marrow destruction, this is usually accompanied by what? Accompanied by splenomegaly. This is usually accompanied by splenomegaly, or sometimes both liver and spleen, hepatospleen, megaly, because of the location. The stem cells can leave the bone marrow and go to the liver and spleen, right? And even go to maybe the flat bones like the sternum, the cranium, and continue erythropoiesis. It's not going to be as effective as the bone marrow, but it's better than none. Yeah. So if I see reticulocytopenic anemia and I see splenomegaly or hepatosplenomegaly, yeah, that may be a clue to tell me, oh yeah, this is like this bone marrow, right, pathology that's going on here. Another thing you might see to tell you is bone marrow pathology might be you see pancytopenia, although not every cause, yeah, you're going to likely see pancytopenia. You're likely going to see pancytopenia as well, because not only red blood cells will be affected, every cell in the bone marrow will be affected as well. Yeah, I might see bicytopenia as well or pancytopenia. So all those things might point me to something wrong with production, bone marrow destruction. All right. So our differentials there will be things like leukemias, right? Leukemias, cancers infiltrating the bone marrow. Cancers can disseminate the bone marrow. We have pulmonary fibrosis, bone marrow fibrosis, myelofibrosis, also things like disseminated infections like TB, histoplasmosis, right? Those guys can end up in the bone marrow. Cancers can metastasize the bone marrow and cause like fibrosis, leukemia, right? Things like that. Yeah. So these are gonna be major causes of like bone marrow failure. Also, yeah, remember we talked about this for osteopetrosis, right? Osteopetrosis. In osteopetrosis, the trabecula of the bone is thicker. So the marrow spaces are going to be compressed. They're narrower, smaller. Some of them becomes obliterated, right? And that will basically disrupt effective erythropoiesis, right? Those cases as well. So these are going to be like things we want to be thinking about, right? For space problem. In the case of erythropoietin and stem cells, these two, because it's either the stem cells themselves that are destroyed or there's no food, right? No erythropoietin. So these two usually have what? These two usually have no hepatosplenomegaly. So unlike bone marrow space destruction that will have hepatosplenomegaly, these two usually they don't have that because the stem cells themselves, right, have been destroyed. So there's nothing to relocate anywhere. Another thing with this is in these ones won't always have pancytopenia because erythropoietin only stimulates red blood cells. So I expect only the red blood cell to be low. The other blood cells will not be affected if erythropoietin is deficient. Stem cells, if the pluripotential stem cells is affected, then all the stem cells are affected, then all the cell lines will be affected. If only the myeloid stem cells are affected, only the myeloid cell line will be affected. Yeah. If only erythroblasts are affected, then only red blood cells will be affected, right? So it depends on what we're dealing with, right? Yeah, we may not see pancytopenia. We might just see maybe just pure red cell aplasia, only red blood cells are low, the other, cell count is fine, depending on what the problem is. So definitely examples of things that will affect cause EPO deficiency will be CKD, right? Chronic kidney disease, or something wrong with the receptor, JAK receptor, right? The JAK receptor, erythropoietin receptor might be mutated or resistant to erythropoietin. That may also cause, sclerocytopenia. Then stem cells, of course, aplastic anemia. Aplastic anemia can be caused by viral infection. This is like an autoimmune problem. Viruses or medications like carbamazepine, they're going to trigger the T cells to destroy the myeloid stem cells. So neutrophils are down, red blood cells are down, platelets are going to be down. However, lymphocytes are going to be spared, right? B and T cells are spared, they're not affected. Yeah, that'll be a plastic anemia. In that case, bone marrow will be replaced by what adipose tissue, right? And stuff. Then we can also have B19, virus B19 infection. B19 infect erythroblast. It has receptors that allows us to infect erythroblast or erythroid precursor cells. So in that case, you're going to see like just pure red cell aplasia, right? Only the red cells will be low. Every other cell, right, should be fine. Yeah. So that would be like purple B19. Aplastic, purple B19. Medications, maybe chemo drugs, right? Chemo drugs, yes, they can impede, they inhibit cell cycle, inhibit DNA synthesis. So that prevents the stem cells from proliferating, right? And that can lead to reticulocytopenic, right? Normocytic anemia as well. So these are going to be just some examples to take note of. But this is how you generally, right, approach normocytic anemia. So far, Victoria, still with me?
Yes, I'm here.
All right, quick recap. So in Ben's anemia, okay, we already know low MCV, we have our approach there. If MCV is normal, right? So this is a little bit, there are more differentials under normocytic than even the other two, right? So, but still nothing to fret about. Once it's always normocytic, if you give me a reticulocyte, I can look for that immediately and try to figure out what type. If you're not giving, no problem, look for that cleats, right, to help you categorize, right, the anemia into one of the three mechanisms, which is either production, hemolysis, or hemorrhage. If reticulocyte count is high, hemolysis, hemorrhage. If I rule out hemorrhage because metas is fine, patient is not acutely bleeding, we're thinking hemolysis, it can further narrow it down based on location. And extravascular, we have three major ones. For intravascular, we have some there, but there are some that actually both extra and intravascular, like G6PD, plasmodium, babesiosis, and stuff. Sickle cell, from